a budget deficit of 11.3 trillion naira to be financed by borrowing, just like Doctor was mentioning earlier. We will dig into that in a few seconds. The budget deficit hits a high of 55 trillion naira from 2015 to 2022. And that budget deficit is expected to rise to 77 trillion naira if the CBN loans are securitized. The CBN wins and means that the CBN loans to the federal government is at around 22 trillion naira. So if that is securitized, according to what the DMO is saying or is canvassing, it will push our public debt to 77 trillion naira. Now, the borrowings, as you can see from local sources, 7 trillion naira, foreign 1.76 trillion naira, multilateral and bilateral loans 1.77 billion naira, privatization proceeds 206.18 billion naira. Is that really even privatization proceeds or even financialization? But Doctor, now let's dig deep into that very quickly, talking about the budget deficit and the debt. What are your views? I should say perhaps that's the most sticky point in this year's budget. What do you think?
Yes, it's a major point in this budget. You've rightly said we've accumulated a lot of deficits over years, and accumulation of deficits definitely lead to your current debt level. You are going to accumulate debt for many years, it accumulates and then it becomes debt. Then you are going to be paying paying a coupon or interest or whatever you are paying on the debt. And that has a lot of implication on what you do. But let me start from this. We've said this point before, and everybody mentioned, I think I hear you mention that on many of your programs before. Borrowing itself may not be the bad idea. I mean, if you don't have something and you desire a good life and borrowing is the only choice, I mean, sometimes it may be the one that is closest to you. You may have to borrow, but the question always is that what do you borrow for? And how efficiently were you able to utilize the borrowing? And the third point is that what are the implications? What are the factors that are tied to such borrowing that you are doing in terms of how many headrooms, how large is your headroom in the future? What do you have to trade off for you to be able to maintain those? So in the case of Nigeria, for instance, as you mentioned, we are looking at a deficit of a large deficit of about 11.34 trillion in 2023, but that is very huge. That is far higher than the budget of Nigeria for about 4 or 5 years before
even in
the current administration put together. So we have a huge debt. Borrowing, as I said, not a bad idea, but how efficiently are we going to use this? And major point is what will be the implication of this on the rest of the economy?